Okay, so I'm going to do my speech on texting and driving. So, how many of you guys have cell phones? Now, how many of you guys use your cell phones to text while you are driving? Not a surprise if you do, because most people do, including most of my friends. Most of the time, I get in the car with my friends and they are texting and driving all the time. Sometimes they even ask me to hold the wheel so they can respond to an important text message. I'm sure that most of you guys have been in similar situations, either with your friends or you are that friend that likes to text and drive. Texting and driving has become a huge issue across the United States, and by following a few simple steps, you can ensure that you can prevent yourself and others from getting into accidents. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the dangers of texting and driving. Secondly, the steps you can take to stop texting and driving. And thirdly, the benefits of your decisions. So, let's talk about the dangers of texting and driving. The big problem is that we are all connected by our cellular devices in our lives. We are constantly texting, FaceTiming. This includes even while we're driving. And at any point during the day, 660,000 people are sending and receiving texts while they are driving. This is according to Edgar Snyder, a law firm company who handles automobile accidents. In 2015, 42% of teens have reported that they text and drive. This is because there are distractions that include visual distractions, like taking your eyes off of the road to send or respond to text, manually because you have to take your hands off of the road to respond to a text, and cognitively because you aren't thinking about the road anymore. You're just thinking about the text that you are sending. This is according to DMV.org. So as you can see, there are many distractions that inhibit you while you are driving. This is why 9 people are killed and 1,000 people are injured every single day because of people who are texting and driving. In 2015, there were 3,500 deaths and about 400,000 injuries, according to CDC. But what's even more sad is that when you are texting and driving, you are 6 times more likely to get into an accident while texting and driving than people who are drinking and driving. This is according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Now, let's say, for example, you are sending a text and it takes you about 5 seconds. We all know it takes a little bit longer than 5 seconds, but let's just say it takes you 5 seconds. And you are traveling at 55 miles per hour. Now, within this time, you would have traveled the length of a football field. Now, that may not seem like it's a long distance, but it's actually a pretty long distance considering the amount of cars you're going to pass and the length of road you're covering, because we all know it doesn't take 5 seconds to send a text. It normally takes a little bit longer. So, as you can see, it inhibits your driving when you are texting. So now, I'd like to show you a video of the effects of texting and driving.
This new phone is awesome. It has made my life so much easier. You know, I get kind of bored when I'm driving and I need to know what's going on. So now, with this huge screen, a keyboard, and a ton of apps, I can get a text and write back right away, no problem. It's like I barely even have to look at it.
So as you can see, texting and driving can not only affect your life, but it can affect the other people's lives around you. So now, I bet you're wondering the steps that you can take to stop texting and driving. Well, first, you can send your text before you leave and after you get back. Just tell your friends that you are driving and you can't respond to their texts. Secondly, you can have a friend be your designated texter. So it's basically the same concept as a designated driver, but they're just responding to your text. And thirdly, you can put your phone somewhere you cannot reach. So you can put it in your glove box, you can put it in your trunk, and you can even put it in your back seat. And lastly, you can just download an app. These apps out there will allow you to basically tell your friends that you are texting and driving, and will block your phone calls and text messages so you're not able to respond. So imagine if people did not text and drive. Imagine if we put down our phones and didn't respond to people's texts. Funny thing is that there used to be a generation where they didn't have cell phones and they wouldn't text and drive. So imagine if we just put our cell phones down and just drove. Imagine the amount of injuries that would decrease, the amount of deaths that would decrease. College kids, they could survive, they could go on to have families, they could have careers. But, so if you take this action, then you could be saving your life and other people's lives. So, if you do not take this action, then you can, the injuries and deaths will still occur, and the injuries and deaths will still occur, and they could even increase because of the technology. So as you can see, taking steps to quit texting and driving can have an impact on your life and others every time you get behind the wheel. So in review, I talked about the dangers of texting and driving, the steps you can take to stop texting and driving, and the benefits of your decisions. So, do me a favor and stop texting and driving, because you can affect your life and other people's lives around you. Imagine if you killed somebody because you took your eyes off of the road for 5 seconds. How would that affect you and your life? So your text can wait. So please stop texting and driving.
How many minutes?